Girl, let's talk about Love Island Season 7, Episode 13, because we are reeling it all the way back. We are Empaths Anonymous, and this is Empaths React. We are two best friends who have a podcast that talk about everything from pop culture to neurodivergence and everything in between, all through the lens of being highly sensitive or empathic. And let's just kind of rewind into Episode 13 because it was a doozy.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a very hard episode to watch just overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that had to do with like the aftermath of, the recoupling and everything that happened. But I think that we're seeing some themes here that are like bubbling over the surface.
Bubbling. Hurtful bubbling.
We need to address some things that are happening both on the island and online because I think that there's lines getting blurred here. And I think that people are forgetting that these are people.
Right.
And something that we've referenced before is like not being able to really fully form an opinion on somebody because before we've even gotten to see their character displayed on screen, we're already, doing deep dives to find all their deepest, darkest secrets. So I think that we just felt like being the podcast that we are, being the people that we are, and always wanting to point back to mental health and humanity and loving each other, unity, really taking a stance and saying that, yes, this is reality television, it's here for our entertainment, but not taking it too far to where it's going into bullying and starting to see people for their humanity.
Right. Obviously, throughout the whole season so far, we have kind of understood this rhetoric online that it's like not as exciting or it's kind of a boring season. And we'll touch on that later. But really, I think episode 13 kind of put us in this headspace of like, whoa, there's just a lot going on. And then the more that we see some of the contestants experiencing like very intense emotions that is coming through the screen and people are reacting to it, and sometimes those are not always the most healthy reactions. So we wanted to have a conversation about what it's like to watch those things as someone who is more than likely dealing with their own mental health issues, and how some of those behaviors and how they're acting and reacting might kind of trigger you, and you're wondering why you're sat there feeling activated and heart palpitations from these people on your television.
Yeah.
So we wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Especially as if you are somebody who also is an empath or a highly sensitive person. I think that I was sitting there for, a good 20 minutes in the beginning, and I just like looked at Danie and I was like, why do I feel like I'm going to cry? Like, why do I feel like so sad for these people? I feel like I'm feeling everybody's feelings, which is part of being an empath. But it was really the first time where I was like, whoa, like I think that I've made these like harsh judgments about people.
Right. It was like a kind of come to yourself moment. Like we have joined in on this conversation about how certain people are behaving and all this information, like Christina said earlier, that was gathered prior to even getting to know the contestants, and that kind of shaped our opinion of them. And so we didn't even really get to know them as people that were on a reality TV show. It was more so like, I know everything about you already, and so I don't like you. And so we're seeing that kind of like, it's a little bit of a struggle for us, I think, because we're seeing it with people like Austin, who is like a very quirky and like interesting person. And had we not known like all the information about his reposts, her and I talk about it all the time. Like, he would probably be like one of our favorite people in the villa because he's just so unproblematic. And
I'm loving Austin.
Danie, I love him!
And he just wants the best, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's hard to just sit here and say like, oh, I really like him, or I love him as a contestant, when you know that he went in with like some sort of past or history, or is on the wrong side of history. But honestly, in my humble opinion, he's kind of just... he seems like the type of person who could be swayed either way.
Right. Yeah. And I find myself like almost being mad at myself for those moments where I'm like, oh, he's really adorable, or oh, like he is very introspective. One thing that we saw in this episode is that Austin observes a lot. And he sees
Quietly.
a lot, and he feels a lot, and he's quiet about it and respectful. Like, I don't think that he's ever been like mean, rude, had any bad intentions towards anybody in the villa. And so a lot of the reposts that resurface and the different things, there was somebody on TikTok who was talking about it. They were just all over the place. And what if he is a Capricorn sun, Aquarius moon. Aquariuses are able to hold this ideal in life that like everybody's allowed to believe whatever they want, and and Capricorns too, very curious. And so I'm not making excuses for anybody, especially if he does hold hurtful, harmful beliefs.
Right.
But he almost just like exploring and curious about a lot of different things? We don't know because we haven't been able to talk to him. And so I think that like one thing that I really miss from past seasons of Love Island is that we didn't know who was going on the show. And I was just able to like enjoy Love Island for Love Island and get to know people episode to episode and not already have this narrative of them in my head.
Right. We kind of came to this conclusion last night after watching episode 13, and we really just sat there and looked at each other like, there's so much going on with all these people, and there are all these emotional blow ups. Obviously, Huda being kind of like the center character at the moment. But even like with Hannah and Charlie, like that was an emotionally charged moment too.
Right.
And it did make me feel kind of like the sobbing situation that Hannah found herself in. I really wonder, like, what was she thinking? I would have loved to have a little bit of a confessional as to like maybe why she felt like she was so feeling those intense emotions.
Right.
Because I don't know, as someone who, if I moved the same way that Hannah moved in the villa, and then the person that I was coupled up with got exiled or voted off
as a result
of
my own actions,
I would feel a little bit guilty, and maybe I feel like that's why she was crying a little bit more so than like someone just leaving.
Yeah.
Because she felt a little bit more responsibility.
Right.
But these people have duality because they're humans. And so we were trying to get to the root of this last night, because we feel like we can just as easily jump on a hate train and say, Huda's this, Huda's that. Hannah ruined everything. Hannah ruined Charlie's experience. Well, those things are not untrue. There are other things that are also true because they're people.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much to go into. If you're really looking at like the psychology of reality TV, there's so much that you have to take into perspective. One, they are without their phones. They don't have any access to the outside world. They're living with each other and having to be around each other 24/7. And I do want to take a moment to say, because I know all you bitches are going to be in the comments being like, oh, I can't believe you're excusing bad behavior. I'm not excusing if someone's a Trumpy. I'm not excusing if someone's a misogynist or if somebody is saying the N-word. I will never do that. If that is behavior that turns out to be true, absolutely, we should hold those people accountable, just like Yulissa was held accountable. Instantly.
Yeah.
Her ass was off the show with a quickness. And
Good morning. Your suitcase is packed.
Bye-bye, girl. Bye.
But there was proof, I think, that for like somebody like Charlie.
Right.
I feel like we were robbed of really getting to know Charlie because there was all these rumors, but there's no receipts.
Right.
I scour the internet looking for receipts. There really isn't any proof other than the fact that he follows, and this even got debunked. People were saying that he followed the POTUS account. I'm like, okay, that doesn't mean that he loves Trump.
Right. The POTUS account changes with the presidency and whoever's elected to their term.
But also somebody went on his profile and he's not even following him. You know?
Right.
So it's like, where are all these things even coming from, bro?
Right. And then we're just so quick to believe. It's like, what happened to our critical thinking skills? Like, we're going to sit here, we're going to analyze people, and we're going to say, this person has that, and this person looks like they have this, and this person has this attachment style. Then why is it so easy for us to just believe what someone else says on the internet? Like, we have to be able to critically think for ourselves. And if it's information that is scary to have these people connected with one another, and those islanders also don't know about that person, and they're obviously not going to share those ideals and beliefs if they think that they're wrong or they're going to be judged for them, then we as an audience need to look at the bigger picture as a whole.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of like us versus them, choose your fighter type of thinking.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a bandwagon. And I'll even say I'm totally a victim of this. I did not like Ace. I still don't really like Ace. But yesterday I found myself agreeing with a lot of the things that he's saying. But then I was like, well, wait, I don't like Ace. So I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, I can't
agree with anything.
And why not, girl?
Right. He's a person.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I don't agree with every single thing they do or think or
I
say.
feel like it's just the climate that we're in, especially in the United States. The divide is so palpable that, like, no matter what situation or environment that you're in, it's almost like you seek it out.
Right.
Like, oh, it's got to be this side or that side, because if you're on that side, I hate your guts.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, I feel like on the Trumpy side, a lot of them are who they are, and they are actually very racist, misogynistic, fill in the blank, right? And a lot of them are just like caught up, or like how Christina says, you're kind of like a product of your environment. And Austin grew up in the Midwest and has no other life experience other than being there, and the people that share those values are just really out and loud about it.
Right.
Then why would you think different, and why would you do different?
Right.
Can we sit down as a collective and say, why does someone have to be all bad, or someone have to be all good for me to like this person?
Exactly. And so something that I'm wanting to propose is, what if there isn't a villain? What if nobody's a villain? And why are we so obsessed with every single season making somebody the villain?
Right.
I think a lot of my opinions have changed. And yesterday I was like, you know what? I'm going to go into this with new eyes.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to allow myself to have the feelings that I have watching the show. I'm going to allow myself to like enjoy like Austin's like goofy, heartwarming nature. I'm going to allow myself to enjoy Taylor, to enjoy Jeremiah. That was something we held ourselves back from. Girl.
Oh, yeah. And still to this day, I'm like, are you sure? I'm having internal conversations with myself about, do I need to like this man, or why am I agreeing with the man?
Right.
And it's honestly hindering us from participating in the most beautiful thing about life, which is humanity, trying to understand one another and not going into every situation with such harsh and criticism, you know?
Right.
And cynicism. It's like, I don't want to ever sit here and say like, well, yes, I'm very frustrated with a lot of men's behaviors in these last several years and how we're struggling with dating, and it's a whole thing, right? I'm not ever going to sit up here and say I hate men. Right. But there's a certain like rhetoric that kind of comes with a lot of these conversations that we're having. And that brings us kind of to the Hudas and the Jeremiahs.
There is a lot of concerning behavior that was coming from Jeremiah, especially the first like 3-4 episodes. I think that when you go on a reality show, when you're in the public eye at all, you are subject to criticism. The public is allowed to have an opinion about you. But I think I'm just tired. I'm just tired of it. But yeah, getting into Huda and Jeremiah, there's just a lot of like veils being tore down right now. And I see both sides, which is so hard because I think that Jeremiah is being demonized because Huda is going to different people in the house, whether it's the girls, whether she's telling a tidbit to Ace, telling a tidbit to Nick. Nobody's getting the full truth because nobody is really seeing until last episode when she blew up at him in front of the whole villa. No one is really seeing their conversations and how she's treating him in the moment, because usually when they have conversations, it's one-on-one and she's scaring him into not speaking out because she doesn't really want to reveal. It's painful to say like, yes, I'm acting ugly. And one of the points that we made last night is that she keeps saying, I've been genuine. I honestly don't doubt that. I think that who we're seeing on the screen is Huda, but that doesn't mean that your 100% genuine self is always good.
Right. It doesn't mean it's your best self. Like, we always have an opportunity to become our best selves. And so I agree. I think that is Huda's 100% true self.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that we don't have any room for improvement.
Right.
Like, being real and sincere is not a cop-out or an excuse to have shitty behavior. Kind of like how we say all the time, like, if you're going through mental health struggles and you're experiencing depression and anxiety, which we both have here sitting on this couch, there have been times where I've been very ugly to people in my life, and I had to really have a conversation with myself about like, girl, you're not the only one in the history of the world to experience these dark and intense feelings, and it doesn't give you the right or an excuse to treat people in your life like shit. People who love you genuinely and care about you and in the Islanders' case, want to get to know you on a deeper level.
Yeah. I think that a lot of us really need to look at ourselves and say, maybe these people are triggering me, or maybe I hate this person so much because they're a mirror of the parts of myself that I don't like and I don't want to address. And there's a lot of hate on Huda, and I don't necessarily think, while a lot of the things that are being said are true, because homegirl's spiraling out, crashing out hard.
Right.
That was the hardest part for me to watch yesterday when they got back from the date, and she just blew up.
She couldn't not. You know what I mean?
Right. She wouldn't even let the girls talk and share their experience. She was grilling Iris. Hannah was talking and trying to talk about her date, and she got up in the middle of it, interrupted what she was saying to storm off across the villa, then was like eavesdropping on the boys. And basically, Huda is doing something that happens a lot when you experience anxiety and you experience overthinking and doubt and insecurity. You're trying to find any little thing to confirm the stories that you're telling yourself in your mind. So she's sitting there and she's eavesdropping and she's waiting for the moment for him to say something bad enough for her to be like, fuck you, you're a pussy, you're a bitch.
Screaming across the villa.
You're a bitch!
You know, the disappointing part of all that transpiring was that no one stood up. Girl, boy, anybody.
Right.
No one stood up and said, Huda, can I like take you to the speakeasy? Can you and I just go sit down? Can I take you to the dock?
Right.
Like, you're emotionally charged and activated. I just don't know that we have anyone on this season who is emotionally mature enough or confident enough to really stand up to Huda.
Yeah.
So it leads me to believe that, I mean, at the time of us recording this episode, we're going to get a recoupling tonight. And it leads me to believe that that wasn't a planned thing, and that we need to, like, the producers or somebody is having to shake some shit up because Huda's behavior is a little bit out of control.
Yeah.
And I think someone on TikTok said they want her to go home to get the help that she needs.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that she was not healed enough to handle a show like this. And I want to just remind anybody listening that we don't really know a lot about her past. Something that I did find was really interesting is that things have gotten so bad for her family and her loved ones that her baby daddy, that she's not even with anymore, felt the need to go on social media and put a whole text post about his experience and basically saying that, like, if I'm getting concerning messages and death threats and just horrible things being said about me and my daughter and my family, I can't even imagine what Huda is going to come out of that villa and see on her phone. And it's scaring me for what we're going to have to deal with at home, because at the forefront of everything, we have to raise our daughter and we have to think of our daughter. And so if she's not going to be able to mentally handle the transition from the villa to real life, like, this is why we can't just jump on and bandwagon people.
It's like certain moments are funny, and I get it. We could take the piss of like certain things, like the mommy song, I'm a mommy.
Right.
Like, there are some of the things that she's done in the villa that are quite frankly ridiculous, and we get that. But also, like, this
And it can be humorous.
Yeah, and this is a 24-year-old young woman, which I said before on the first week recap, is like, I am almost always gonna go like stay on the side of a person who's a mother.
I'm a mommy.
Like, as a mother myself, it is what it is. We band together. Now, do I agree with a lot of her behaviors? No. Do I condone them? No. But do I think that it stems from decades and decades of previous trauma and all that we're seeing and seeing her experience in real life, our trauma responses?
Right.
Yeah, girl. Like, that girl is not ready to make connections. Both friendship wise and especially romantically. She's not there.
Secure connection.
There's nothing secure about her. And I think that it's just a trickle down effect of everything that she's experienced in her entire life, on top of childbirth within the last 5 years and going through a breakup.
Right. Childbirth at 19.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, let's kind of put things into perspective. And now, if you're a mom and you've never experienced that, and your childbirth experience, even if it was at 19, or you're a young mother yourself and you never experienced those things, fine, great.
That's amazing.
It's
You're
amazing.
Honestly, blessed and lucky to have that experience.
Yeah, but it's not everyone's experience. So I think let's keep that in mind. And death threats are like never the way to go. There's like lighthearted making fun of people,
Right.
and like I said, taking the piss for like certain things that get said and become a meme and viral,
Right.
like Amaya crying, like because she's ridiculous and over the top, but we love her, and we're
Right.
also not sending her death threats either. So like we can't be doing this.
Right. I think that Huda and Jeremiah are the perfect example of an anxiously attached person with an avoidantly attached person. And I think that we can kind of speak to that because we are opposite attachment styles. I'm very avoidant, especially mostly in romantic relationships. I'm pretty avoidant. And Danie is more anxiously attached. And so we can both see, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I can understand why Jeremiah is behaving that way. And then I can also understand why Huda's behaving that way. I think the way that Huda in these last 2 episodes has been treating him is not right. And I just am so confused why the Islanders and even people on the internet are continuing to blame Jeremiah when it's like it takes 2 to tango. And I think that maybe they're just not compatible in a
No.
romantic relationship.
No, I think that everything was hot and heavy. Whoever's fault it was, I guess I'm not even really concerned with that at this
Right.
point. Like, we don't necessarily need a scapegoat. We don't always
Right.
need someone to blame. Again, what if no one is the villain and
Yeah.
everyone's just trying to figure out their shit all at the same time? But yeah, I don't think that Huda's being nice to anyone right now, if I'm being
No.
honest, because she is having an emotional breakdown and there's no one there to really console her in a way that I think she wants. Like, obviously the girls are validating her feelings, even though I don't think that's the right thing to do either. Like, someone needs to tell her the truth, and I think that's really
Right.
what she wants.
Right.
But
If
no one's like, able
Amaya-
to stand up to her.
If Amaya one more time tells her, no, you deserve that and he's a piece of shit and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
I'm like, girl, please close your mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that to counter kind of what you were saying before is like maybe people just don't have the confidence or the emotional maturity to
Mhm.
address it. I'm putting myself and I'm like, if there was a girl in front of me crashing out that hard and she's not going to listen to anything anyone says anyway, I'm keeping my mouth shut because that's none of my business. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, why
Yeah.
should I then be the brunt of her fucking crash out?
Yeah.
Just because I'm the one willing to. Because I've been in situations like that before. And I think the reason that yesterday triggered me so much is she reminds me of someone who used to be in my life.
Mhm.
And I did give her a moment of truth. And I did say, like, hey, I love you and care about you. And because of that, I'm going to tell you about yourself.
Mhm.
And it just turned into me being the bad guy, me getting screamed at, a hostile living environment.
Mhm.
It just wasn't good for me. And I'm like, why did I open my mouth?
Right.
Because she's never going to be able to look in the mirror and be like, oh, you know what?
Mhm.
I should look at myself and I should take some accountability for how I'm treating people.
Yeah. And I believe that, like, maybe this is the experience that Huda needed to make this decision. And once she gets out, like, I still have a lot of hope for Huda. And she was one of our favorites from the beginning. Like, as soon as we
Yeah.
saw her in the opening dance credits, I was like, that's my girl. And I still feel like that could be true. Like, we don't have to keep, like, these handcuffs on her as, like, that's the bad guy. And guess what? She's in jail forever. So that's really it about them. Like, again, no one is the bad guy here, but they don't belong together. Point blank, period.
Yeah. So next, we just want to talk about, like, why do we feel like things are just so off in the villa? And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but nobody's really, like, talking really. You know, I think that one thing we saw in season 6 and just even in other seasons across the Love Island universe is that they would tell things to each other as a group. Or the girls would sit down and have a girl chat and, like, tell each other everything, not just the good things. Or, like, I think that because it started with so much competition with the girls and because Huda was, you know, calling girls a bitch and you're not a girl's girl, whatever, they're afraid to express what's happening in their relationships.
Right.
Because they don't want to cause any conflict between each other. So they're just not talking about things.
Right.
And there's a lot of, like, dancing around, like, I'm going to tell one person this thing and then I'm going to go to this person and tell them something completely opposite.
Right. It's already happened with Huda when she had 2 separate conversations with Amaya and Ace and told them both opposite things. And it also happened again with Nick, where he told Jeremiah one thing and then sat Huda down and then told Huda a different thing.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering, like, why can't we just be honest with one another in, like, pure and genuine, like, care?
Right. It's like, say things with your chest. You had a lot to say when you stood in the fire pit and you wanted to vote Huda out.
Yeah.
Now that she's sitting you down one-on-one and you're probably a little afraid and intimidated by her, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I feel bad for you. And like, yeah, Jeremiah's not acting. You said none of that yesterday.
Right. You literally stood in that circle after everything that happened, and you literally looked at Jeremiah and you were like, this is not it, this is not it, this is not it. And so I just want to know why they waited until that moment to basically have that conversation with either of them.
Yeah.
Because I think they really thought that Huda was going to go home, but you didn't think about the aftermath of if she did not.
That was my hot take because, you know, I have always watched a lot of reality TV, especially Survivor. And if there's one thing you know from Survivor, when you're going to take a hit at somebody who's like a big player and who's like,
yeah,
I don't want to say the villain, but somebody who, you know,
they take up a lot of screen time.
Right. It's like you got to aim and you got to come correct and you got to make sure that they actually leave, because then if you're left with that person on the island, now they're coming after you. And that's in like a survivor's perspective, but like we gave them the opportunity. America said, here, we're putting her up for elimination, and they took a swing and totally missed.
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
Right. And then we're caught with their pants down and then didn't really have the balls to say like why they actually made that choice.
And then the boys are sitting there in front of everybody, but then again, not even saying let's all as a whole group have this conversation. They're sitting there throwing the blame on other people. Austin, this is your fault for throwing a vote on
can I ask
Taylor.
you why you did that? Like,
right. Jeremiah, this is your fault. And he's like, excuse me, I'm the person who almost just had my partner go home.
Right.
Why is this my fault?
Yeah.
America voted that way. And you, you know?
Right.
There's just people are just not listening to each other, and there's so much defensiveness. And I really miss the unity and the friendship and the camaraderie from past seasons, because I think that's the thing. If I had to pinpoint right now what's so different about this season, it's that.
There's no friendships for real. They're all like surface level, like, you're my best friend, you're my best friend. I'm like, how? How are you guys best friends? Like, in what way? Because you guys make pancakes together every day?
Right.
That's not a best friendship. I'm sorry. I get it. Those things, like, really progress quickly when you're 24/7 locked on an island with someone. But there's no, like, deep conversations happening. They're not really talking about the things that are transpiring in the villa. They just are not.
Floating around, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we're going into week 4, and there's really nobody besides Huda and Jeremiah who are like, I'm happy with my couple. I'm happy with my choice. Because are they not realizing, like, we really only have, like, 2 or 3 weeks left?
I don't know.
You need to kind of make a decision. They're all just floating around like they have the entire summer to figure things out. I'm like, you actually don't. And you're actually robbing yourselves and each other of these experiences because you're all wishy-washy. Like, Shelly, I like Ace, but I also like Austin. Well, then you're making Austin wait around.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of person, he's not going to explore something until you give him a no.
Right.
Amaya's getting robbed of her experience. Iris, I feel so bad for Iris, y'all.
I know.
That is another thing I'll say. I really, really enjoy her.
Yeah. So far, she's the one for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's getting robbed too.
Right. I feel like everyone needs to just hit the reset button, and we're going to figure out what happens tonight. Obviously, by the time this is hitting, you know, the YouTubes, a lot is going to transpire. So just keep that in mind when you're having a watch. But overall, the idea that we wanted to bring across with this recap is that we have to stop with the intense bullying. If you are a part of that, like, just don't do it anymore. And if you're adding to the conversation and it's not helpful in any way and you're just kind of putting fuel to the fire, let's kind of twist the way that we're talking about things and maybe go at it from a lens of being more understanding or empathic about the fact that these are real human beings.
Right. We can have a kiki, we can have a laugh, we can make memes and share them on Instagram and TikTok about all the, like, funny moments and the facial expressions. Like, there are things that I laugh at because I'm like, it is funny. But at the end of the day, these are people and they're going to have to leave the villa at one point. And then who's going to be responsible for the fact that their lives are being blown up on social media? And maybe last season kind of, like, lent itself to that. but it was in a positive way for the most part, except for the Casa girls. Like, those islanders blew up in the positive way. Like, they're living the life of their dreams that they never even thought was going to happen from season 6. And so maybe we as a community and as viewers went into this season kind of with that same mentality that, like, oh, these people are going to be celebrities when they leave. But it's almost taking such a negative turn that for me as a viewer, it's becoming a little unenjoyable to watch.
Because no one can really be honest with themselves or one another. And so that just kind of takes the wind out of everyone's sails, and it's tough to watch as a consumer because you want to love these people and you want to get to know them, but it's hard to get to know them when none of them are really being like forthcoming, except for the select few that we named earlier. But
are they afraid to? From public opinion, are they afraid to be their full selves? Are they afraid to jump ship on their couple and like meet somebody else?
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode and that we took a little different take, because the first recap we did, we kind of just took the piss out of everybody, which, like we said, there's a time and a place for that, and we were just doing it in good fun. But I hope that you guys really resonate with this different style of video and deep diving more into mental health, because it's something that really like lights both of us up. And we feel like these are the kinds of things that we want to be talking about on our channel and with our community. So if you guys have anything to add to the conversation, please leave it below. Hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok, because we are going to be starting to go live a lot more, and that's really fun. And that way we can have like in real time conversations with you guys. And yeah, I think that that's about it.
Yeah. Name some of the feelings maybe that kind of came up for you watching, I guess, just this week as a whole, but specifically episode 13 when Charlie went home. Like, what were some of those things that kind of came up for you as you were watching? Because I know it's kind of a different experience for everyone. So
we didn't even touch on that. Like, Charlie like is America's sweetheart right now. So
but, I mean, I'm about to go, after I sign off of this, I'm gonna go sign on the petition to bring Charlie back, because I love that man.
So yeah, we hope you guys like this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like it, and we will see you in the next Empaths React.